Why the hate? Is Snow White destined to fail? Why are people canceling Snow White? Why is Disney hiding? What are they doing? How can there be so many controversies around one movie? A film that looks pretty good to me. These are all things I want to talk about in today's video. Hey gang, it's Lisa. I want to talk about the new live-action Disney film Snow White because it seems to me that
haters gonna hate.
This is a remake of Disney's first ever feature-length film that released back on December 21st, 1937. Yep, we're talking about the remake of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Except for some odd reason, this film has been getting nothing but hate. It baffles me how many people are talking about boycotting this film or how Snow White should be canceled. It blows my mind. And so you know what? Today, guys, we're going to talk about it all. We're going to talk about the four main controversies that happened with this film. We're going to dig into each one of them. We're also going to talk a little bit about why people hate on remakes and why they shouldn't hate on remakes. But you're really going to want to stay tuned till the end because we're going to talk about why this film needed to progress and what has happened for women's rights since 1937. Because we all have women in our lives that we love. Let's just dig in and let's start talking about this live action film. This isn't even a controversy, but I do have to wonder, what in the hell is Disney thinking? Like, what are they doing? It had a very, very scaled down non-media allowed Hollywood premiere this last Saturday, March 15th. Media outlets were snubbed. They only allowed in-house Disney press. Beyond this scaled back premiere, Disney has also done some very strange things. Like, I don't know, sending their new Snow White, that's played by Rachel Zegler, on press junkets all over the world, while the evil queen, who's played by Gal Gadot, gets to stay home in the US promoting the film. It appears to me that Disney is scared and potentially preparing for the worst. It's as if somehow in their minds, they've already recognized it'll be a box office flop. However, will it be a box office flop because it's a remake of an older animated film? Because all of the other Disney's more successful live action remakes have all come from the 80s or 90s. Because those appeal to millennials and Gen Xers. Those of us who maybe are trying to get back a piece of our childhood, maybe relive a little bit of that Disney nostalgia. I mean, think Beauty and the Beast. The original was in 1991, the remake was in 2017. And who didn't love Aladdin, right? That came out in 1992. The remake was in 2019. Let's also think Lion King. The original for that came out in 94. The remake in 2019. Oh, then most recently, how can we forget about Little Mermaid, right? That one came out in 89. Then the remake, 2023. Truly, does Disney think it's gonna flop because they remade a movie from 1937? And if that's the case, maybe they shouldn't have remade a movie that old if that's truly what they thought. Or does Disney believe it'll flop at the box office because of all the controversy that's surrounding the film? And I mean, between me and you, because it's just us here, do you guys really believe that these controversies are going to impact a Disney film? To me, Disney is that one studio that has stood the test of time, right? They've been around the longest. They continue to deliver family-friendly films, which are hard to come by nowadays. Disney's predicting this film to gross something like $50 million opening weekend, yet the film cost $250 million to make. That's before marketing expenses. I just don't know. Are people really going to avoid a film because of the controversies? I have read a ton of stuff about how people are talking about boycotting this film solely because of all the controversy. Like, people are being like, Snow White should be canceled and all of this other crap that's going on. And I want to talk about these things. Like, I really want to dig into what these controversies are. There are pretty much four main controversies that have been surrounding this film. And I want to talk about each of those controversies. So let's just start with the first one, right? It's the same shit that everyone talked when Disney cast Halle Bailey back in July of 2019, all the way until the 2023 live action Little Mermaid film release. This is exactly what they've been doing with Rachel. From the moment Disney cast her as Snow White, which happened back in June of 2021, this film has been plagued with nothing but controversy. Basically, because in the original, Snow White had skin as white as snow, that there is no way Snow White can be a Latina. God forbid it gets changed up a little bit and that maybe another group of little girls out there who potentially never had anyone to look up to until now. They want a Disney princess also. God forbid we give them something. And before anyone gets in a huff, they do explain, by the way, in the new movie, I have read about this, why she's named Snow White comes from her surviving a snowstorm as a child. I think that's a pretty good explanation for why she has the name Snow White. She survived a snowstorm. I live in South Dakota. I've been stuck in blizzards. Wizards. Like, hey, good name, guys. I understand wanting to keep things the way they were. I mean, I'm all about like honoring tradition and all of that. Yet, I mean, come on, gang. Are we being serious? Studios remake movies all the time. Actually, in today's environment, it is really hard right now to find a movie that isn't a remake or a sequel. If you really thought about it, like I have, so many movies nowadays are remakes of originals. I actually thought of a few that I kind of just wanted to share with you. And these are ones I could just come up with within a few minutes. First one that came to my mind, Star Trek. The original was in 1979. We remade it in 2009. Then I was really mad because they remade the 1990 movies Flatliners. They redid that in 2017. I mean, heck, guys, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory has already been remade twice since the original. Original came out in 1971, then they remade it in 2005, and then I guess we didn't like that one enough because then we had to redo it with Timothée Chalamet in 2023. I just can't understand why we care about remakes. And if we're going to talk about the way in which people change things up, was everyone upset when they remade Ghostbusters in 2016 and it was all women and the original was all men? I know that people were upset because they thought the one in 2016 sucked, but that's a whole different reason. Sorry guys, ADHD moment there. I went on a tangent. But what I'm getting at is that movies get remade all of the time, right? Sometimes they stick to the original, sometimes they don't. And if we're truly saying that remakes have to stick to the original, then I guess I ask the question, what's the point of a remake? Like, why continue to remake it? Just watch the original. Now we move on to the second controversy. And this one came from Peter Dinklage. And for those of you guys who don't know, Peter Dinklage is the guy from Game of Thrones. He did the voice of Dr. Dillamond in Wicked Part 1. Back in 2022, so you're talking like over 2 years ago, he brought up an issue regarding the Seven Dwarfs. And basically he's quoted as saying, and I mean, this is an exact quote from him, guys, Disney is being progressive for Latina, yet fucking backwards about seven dwarfs living in a cave. And so what did Disney do? Disney responded by including one actor with dwarfism, and then the other six were actors of different races. Why not just cast 7 actors who have dwarfism? There are lots of actors out there looking for work. I mean, you could have employed all of them. Nope. They decided that they would do what Disney does and they would CGI them in. Disney does this often in their live action movies. They incorporate a lot of CGI elements, and so they CGI'd all the 7 dwarfs, and they all still had the same names, but they're not called dwarfs, guys. They're called allies, which caused a controversy all in and of itself. Like, are you really mad because it's called Snow White and that maybe it would be called Snow White and the Seven Allies? Like, I don't know. I don't get it, guys. To me, I like the allies reference. I think it was a good way to like grow with the times. However, I kind of do agree with Peter Dinklage here. Like, just hire actors with dwarfism and let them live in a house, not a cave, which I have seen the trailers. They do actually live in a house, not in a cave. But come on, Disney, do more better next time. Now, coming up on this third controversy, this one is all about the political disagreements between the 2 lead actresses regarding the Israeli-Palestinian crisis. Now, mind you, the Israeli-Palestinian crisis, guys, goes back to like the 19th century. I want to say like 1882, and is still continuing today. There are numerous people, Hollywood people, everyday people, everyone on both sides of the conflict, and I'm not even going to try to explain the Israeli-Palestinian crisis. Like, it is a lot to go into. However, I can explain what the actress's controversy is on this one. Everyone is saying that these two hate each other. I don't know if they actually do or if this is the media making it up. And part of this comes down to like Gadot is Israeli, and she actually served on the Israeli Defense Force for like 2 years. And then you got Rachel Zegler, who is very outspoken and very pro-Palestine. Then there was rumor that these two didn't want to be seen in public together, right? And that's why Disney has them on like separate press junkets. However, we did see them together at this year's Oscars. They introduced the Best Visual Effects category. Again, did they do it for publicity and to be nice, or do they really hate each other? I don't know. I mean, I guess, can they have different opinions and still get along for the sake of the film? I would think so. To me as a viewer, would I even be able to notice on the screen that these two disliked each other? They obviously knew that they had differing opinions while they worked together, so maybe we should just wait and judge the movie on its merits. Because to me, if the acting is up to par and I can't tell that they hate each other and they didn't let it impact their work and they made an astonishing film, then like, who cares? This fourth controversy is probably the one that annoys me the most. Well, it's actually not probably, it is. It's the the one that annoys me the most, it frustrates me, and it gets me the most worked up. And that's that people are saying that they won't go to the film, and this is the whole cancel thing, because the film is too woke. First off, we should define the word woke in today's society. And by definition, according to Webster's new usage, it means that you're alert to and concerned about social injustice and discrimination. Okay, if we use that definition, then of course the film's woke. Why wouldn't we want this film woke? Shouldn't we want it to be woke? It's woke because it's changing the injustice of women between 1937 and now. By the way, I don't know that I've ever said the word woke so many times in my entire life. Are all those people out there that are saying to boycott it, that it should be canceled, that it's too woke, don't go to it, are those people really trying to say that the world hasn't progressed in 86 years and that women can't have thoughts of their own or be opinionated?
You know, I really don't remember you being this opinionated.
Should we not show these little girls, and like I said, grown women, that they no longer need to have a man rescue them from their lives, and that, I don't know, maybe they can strive for more than just finding a significant other or pining after true love? And I'm not saying they can't have those things, but let's show them that they can have both, that they can have both love and be a girl boss. Little girls can still watch and love the original. Like, I still thought it was a great film, but they can also now watch and love the new one. And why can't we show them a different side of Snow White? And again, are we saying with this remake we were supposed to keep everything as it was? If those people are really saying that they want to show little girls and everyone that women should be just like they were back in 1937, and that's the case and they don't want it to change, then let me drop you guys a little bit of knowledge and tell you what you are asking these little girls and women to go back to. First off, you want these little girls and women to be paid less. And I'm not just talking, guys, about the current like 70% or maybe it's 80% now of like men's pay that women make. I'm talking about literally paying them nothing compared to men, because, oh, that's right, there was no minimum wage until 1938. Then for another 25 years after minimum wage, women could be paid less for the same work. I'm talking like 30%, maybe even 20% of the pay that men made. And why did that finally change? Because in 1963, our government passed the Equal Pay for Equal Work Act. Oh, and let's not forget that we would be telling women, married women to be precise, that as soon as they got married, that they would have to resign from their jobs, civil service jobs, education, nursing jobs, just to name a few, because until the Civil Rights Act passed in 1964, the marriage bars, as they were called, were not fully dismantled. Then there is also the dependency that women had to have on men to get a loan or a credit card, because without a man to co-sign, women didn't have access to loans, to credit cards, which I know some men out there would think that women still shouldn't have access to credit cards. But what I'm saying is that women without some type of man in their life, in some sort of capacity, whether that be like a brother, a father, or a husband, these women couldn't even own a home. That was until Congress passed the Equal Credit Opportunity Act in 1974. The craziest part to me is that that law is only 51 years old. And if we think about that right now in today's world, single women own more homes than single men. And single women, like myself, we make up 20% of the housing market. And so basically, like we're trying to say in the new Snow White, you can have love if you want, and you can own your own home. You don't have to make a decision. Let's not forget about what a real woman's purpose was back in 1937, which was to pop out babies, right? Like barefoot, pregnant, in the kitchen. Is that up until 1978, you could be fired from your job just because you were pregnant. And then finally, Congress stepped up in 1978 and they passed the Pregnancy Discrimination Bill, known as PDA. Kind of funny, right? Like PDA. If we think about that, and that was a real woman's purpose, you're basically saying, well, you know what though? As soon as you get pregnant, you shouldn't have a job, right? This next one I find crazy. And I always wondered, because my mom only stayed home with me for like 2 weeks after I was born because she had to get back to work. And the reason being is because it wasn't until the Family and Medical Leave Act passed in 1993 that women were even allowed to take 12 weeks unpaid off from their jobs and still have it protected. Like there was no guarantee that if they left for maternity leave that they could come back to their job. That's crazy. We're saying, oh, women, pop out kids, but I don't know. I mean, I can't fire you now, but I also don't know if I'm going to let you have your job back. All I'm trying to get at, and with that being said, guys, is that since the release of the original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and there have been significant advancements in women's rights, which I think reflect our society's, I don't know, evolving attitudes towards gender equality and empowerment? Basically saying that women can have just what men have. We're allowed to have it all. Which, you know what? I think everyone, including every man, can agree that they want women's rights to evolve. Not to go down my rabbit hole, but I will, and I'm going to quote the should have been Best Supporting Actress winner Ariana Grande from the amazing film Wicked Part 1. She has a mother, as so many do. I mean, come on, gang. Everyone has a mother, has women in their lives that we want to see women's rights progress. And so really, this movie should be woke. It should progress with the times. So shouldn't movies, just like the times, evolve as society evolves? I mean, especially with remakes. To me, all this live action remake has done is take a classic animated film that to so many of us we love and brings it into today's century. Don't get me wrong though, gang. I'm not saying the film is any good. I haven't seen it. To me, it looks good. The trailer looks appealing to me. What I am saying is that maybe we should all be talking more about whether the film rises or falls to our expectations, whether the movie's good or bad, and less about what is going on behind the scenes. Less about the controversies. I'm saying to all of us, because I'm going to go to the film, and I think all of us should go to the film and judge the film on its own merit. It's about the film, guys. It's not about all of this other shit. That's all I'm saying, duders. I'm gonna go to the film. I'll let you guys know what I think, either in a YouTube video or maybe I'll put it on X. Let me know your thoughts. Are you guys planning on going to Snow White? Let me know in the comments what you thought about it or what you think about these controversies. I'd love to have a conversation. I'm here to keep talking all the films, all the categories through my Oscar-obsessed ADHD point of view. Thanks, and until next time.